up everyone? So today's movie I'm going to be discussing on the channel is the latest film from Ridley Scott, the historical epic, and I guess you can call it a biopic, Napoleon, which stars Joaquin Phoenix as the renowned French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. And the film details his rise to power, his relationship to his wife Josephine, who's played by Vanessa Kirby, as well as his legacy. Ridley Scott is a filmmaker who is very hit or miss for me. Like, he's made some absolute belters like Thelma and Louise, The Martian, and The Last Duel. Loved all of them. But he's also made a few movies which have been quite disappointing, like Exodus, God and Kings, Robin Hood, and of course, most recently, House of Gucci. But he's still one of the few filmmakers working today with enough cachet to make big budget, ambitious projects like Napoleon. I think this film cost somewhere between 100 and 200 million to make. Not many films with that kind of budget are greenlit these days, so for that I'm very grateful that Ridley Scott gets to make these types of movies. Admittedly, I was a little nervous for this film. I actually thought the trailer looked a little bit ugly, and I'm also not the biggest fan of like historical epics. They're just not really my jam. But then I remembered Ridley Scott did make The Last Duel and Gladiator, which I enjoy both of those movies. So I was going into this film cautiously optimistic. And what did I think of Napoleon? I thought this was a bit of a mixed bag of a film. Like, the action set pieces in this film are spectacular. The battle sequences in this film were jaw-dropping, and I thought the costumes were also ravishing, and I thought the performances were fine. I don't think this is a great movie. I think it's a good enough movie. Like, I enjoyed it for what it was. A big budget Ridley Scott action movie, but the interpersonal dynamics of the characters were a little bit odd. One might even say campy. Which is why overall it feels a little tonally muddled whilst you're watching it. Like, the battle scenes in this film are so grisly, violent, and visceral. Like, it really shows you the horror of war. But then you've got scenes where Napoleon's idea of flirting is this. Yeah, not kidding. Apparently gobbing his mouth like a fish and going mum 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 was his way of letting his wife know that he was horny. So you see what I mean? That kind of stuff is very campy, and it kind of clashes with the serious nature of the war aspects of this film. It's so random, but I will admit I did find it amusing in a kind of House of Gucci way. Like, this is ridiculous, and I am amused by it, but it feels out of place in the film. Then you've got some atrociously funny dialogue, like, "Destiny has brought me this lamb chop, and you think you're so great because you have boats." It feels like those lines are destined to become memes. The acting was fine. Like, it's really just Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby that need discussing here. They had kind of a messed up relationship, which is probably why certain scenes detailing their marital distress feel so absurd. I found them as a pairing interesting, but that's mostly because each subsequent scene that they're in together is so distinctly different in tone from the last. One moment they're in love, the next they're at each other's throats. Sometimes it's toxic, and sometimes it's tender. It's very up and down throughout the whole runtime. The flow of their relationship throughout this film feels very disjointed, which kind of paints the picture that a lot of this film was cut out and left on the editing room floor. I heard somewhere that it was like a 4-hour cut of this movie, which means they probably had to cut a lot out, and probably explains why the tone is so inconsistent. House of Gucci had the same issue. But despite its very visible flaws, I didn't hate watching this film. I was entertained, and it did keep me engaged throughout. The campy moments did make me chuckle in a what is happening kind of way. Will it get any Oscar nominations though? I would say it would be worthy of a nomination for costume design. They are very elaborate, detailed, and very period. It's the type of costume where the Academy usually likes to acknowledge. It's also got a very iconic piece of fashion in this film, which is Napoleon's hat. Like, if you showed people a picture of just that hat on the street, most people would say, oh, that's Napoleon. I don't think there's going to be any acting nominations. Like I said, I think Vanessa Kirby and Joaquin Phoenix are fine in this film, but that's it. They're fine. They don't shine. If they did show up, I would be surprised. Maybe sound. Like, there's a lot of visceral sound design in the battle sequences, and the Academy do like a war movie in the sound category. Just look at All Quiet on the Western Front, and 1917. But that's probably it. Like, I did like the score by Martin Phipps, but I don't really see it getting into score. But yeah, when it comes to Oscar nominations, it's kind of like House of Gucci, this film. If it's gonna get just one nomination, it will be for costume design, but that's probably it. So let's ask those 3 questions. Firstly, would I watch it again? Perhaps. I'm not in a rush to watch this film again. Like, I don't feel the desire to like buy a copy of it like I did for Thelma and Louise, Alien, or The Martian. But yeah, maybe it's a film I could see myself revisiting one day. Like, maybe if I'm at home for Christmas, I might watch it with my dad. I feel like he would watch this film. Question 2, do I recommend it for you guys? I'm gonna say that it is a great dad movie. I think dads out there will appreciate the battle sequences in this. But yeah, if you're someone who liked Ridley Scott's Gladiator or The Last Duel, then you'll probably will at least enjoy this film. I don't think it's as good as either of those films, but I do think if you're curious about watching it, then it is definitely worth watching on the big screen for all its spectacular battle sequences. And here's the thing, we do not get a lot of these movies made these days with this kind of budget and these types of action set pieces. If you watch it at home, you know, on a streaming service for the first time, then you're not really helping the film. Like, you should, if you can go to a cinema, then please do go out and support a film like this, okay? That's all I'm saying. And third question, what score to give it out of 10? I thought Napoleon was a passable, yet pretty entertaining film. It's very bombastic, and it's also historically inaccurate in places, and I do think the tone is a bit confused, but did I have a good time watching it? Yes, I just didn't have a great time watching it. So I'm gonna give Napoleon a score of 6 out of 10. But as always, guys, it's just one bloke's opinion. Love to hear from you. Have you seen Napoleon? If you have, what do you make of this film? How does it rank for you in all of Ridley Scott's filmography? Whatever you have to say, please let your voice be heard in that comment section down below. If you have enjoyed the video, do help me out by hitting the little thumbs up button. If you want more movie, TV, and Oscars-related content, don't forget to click subscribe, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Harefield, and I'll see you next time.